Hey, it's me, Crystal and Mitchell. I'm here for another story time. I think this will be the last story time because I think that you all been saying basically, giving you little hints or whatnot. So, um, you know, uh, I told you about the dream. So I had already told you about the dreams, and so the last three dreams that I had was the dream of me. Well, before I start with that, how I had my spiritual encounter after I started having these dreams, which has been about 11 years now. I've been having dreams for about 11 years. And then had my spiritual encounter with God. Tells me to write. I asked him if he wanted me to write since it was on my heart and mind for forever and a day. I could not shake the feeling. Had my spiritual encounter with him. Started writing. Wrote about a psychologist. Boom. Came across a psychologist. Second book. Wrote a book. Started writing, needed a lawyer, boom, need a lawyer. And so I told you about that I had the three dreams of how I was jumping out of the the psychologist's window, and how when I jumped out the window, there was two huge cobras, a female and a male, and the female was striking me, kept striking me a few times. Then the next dream after that, I was driving in my car, and then I hit something, got out of the car, walked around to see what I hit, and then that's when I seen a white man and a white woman inside my car through the grill part. So I could see them looking, so I had interpreted that dream as of being followed, monitored, tracked. In the third dream, I was on the corner, and then I was next to a police. He was standing. It was daytime in the downtown area. I just wasn't for sure. It almost kind of was like similar to Cincinnati, but I knew it wasn't Cincinnati. And then someone across the street was shooting at me. Started shooting at me, and so that's when I had woken up. So, uh, yeah. So when the man had came to LA, I wound up supposed to have this gig once again, uh, for what she did for evil, what she meant for evil, God turned around for good. How I went there and how I had ran into the people in the film industry after I was stuck in this airport. Um, and so when the man came to see, you know, meet me there, uh, my planes kept delaying. So when I finally got there, and after he leave, that's when I run into the people in the film industry and got to present my book to them. And so um, after he left, he started acting strange. You know what I'm saying? Acting as if he never read my book. You know, but before then, uh, uh, I was well. He acted like he never read my book or whatnot, and was just acting like he just don't know me. But before then, the lawyer woman, she had said that the story of the Monopoly money sounded familiar. She wanted to see a picture of him. And, she read the book and she was like, well, you cannot be with your psychologist. And I was like, he's made up, right? Which he was. I just met him afterwards. And so, with him acting like that, it was just, and then after that, that's when God was waking me up out of my sleep, out of nowhere. Like, He knows your fear. He knew where you worked, that video that's no longer available. So if you look up under my playlist, if you have in my author playlist, you will see there's a unavailable or hidden video. That's the video where I'm telling the gentleman that's in the UK of how I was working at Lions Cove with the coal mines, how the vice president there, which his name again is Mr. Aberley. I had a dream of running to his office and how the office turned into a hospital. But on my side, it was, his office, and then the window was separating us. And that's how I was, uh, due to me, I had used to work at a place called Alliance Medical Staffing as well. Not during the same time, but for the people that knew me, I didn't want them to think that I was lying. So that's why I said Alliance Code with the Comax. So when God was like, He knew where you worked, He knows your fear, He knew where you worked, that video. So that's the video where I'm stating. So God had said that, He was warning me, uh, bringing it back to my memory because of the incident that had happened, which the dream wound up coming true years before I even knew Him. This is around the time and around the time of when my dreams was started. And so when God had woke me up saying that, that incident ended up happening after I had left this woman. After I had called him, telling him about this woman of things that I was experiencing. And so then God will wake me up again of saying, He don't let him tell you he ain't read that book. Find the proof that he read the book. So I had to do some digging and searching, and I wound up finding, and it's so crazy, but I found the proof that he had read the book. So, and that was a month after he read the book from my Google document of September of 2018, which was a month after me seeing him getting flown out to California. And so it's strange because he said that he didn't read the book, but then he goes and get the same car as the character in the book, but act as if he's never read the book. And so that's where everybody's lost. And then from when God, he was like, He knows your fear, that's when everything started coming together of uh, my friend asking, are you sure they do not know each other? You know, and then her saying, oh, you know, you can't be with your psychologist. And then someone brought it to my attention, was like, well, they think that maybe he did that so that he can make it look like that it's him. Maybe that was really his client because he read the book before I even became he got the car before I became author. So we don't know. I don't know if it's because I sent the Monopoly money. Him, I don't know. That part I do not know. So here's the part where God had woken me up. So the dream with the snake, I had that around the time I was around her. So this was right around when they had canceled my uh, the interview that I was supposed to go to Texas to do the interview. So it was canceled like 2 times. And it's so crazy because the woman kept saying, she was like, your story must be powerful because we just can't connect. You know, she's trying and but as I look back, like I say, you could be around certain people and things just don't shake, you know. And so going to where God had told me, woke me up out of my sleep, you know, and then this is what I'm calling him. So these is the things that I'm telling him. So I'm just going to drop down into the book of the Manifested Only to Destroy. The weekend went by and I was awakened at 3 in the morning. I sat up in my bed and the feeling that came over me was, you bet not go back. I couldn't go back to sleep. I waited until 7 and called my friend who been and told me to quit. After talking to her, I then called Jezebel and told her that I quit. I told her how she reminded me of Sherry in the book. You have to read the book, the beginning of her story, to understand what I'm saying. I told her how I knew she had asked my son's father to work for her, and if I had ever quit working for her. She then said she asked him if he wanted to work for her on the weekends. Either way, it was inappropriate, and I believed him. I told her how she keeps worrying about these characters in the book, and maybe it's because she's a lawyer. That's probably the reason. She can't cut it off. She didn't want me to quit. She insisted that I was working a lot of hours from both jobs and just needed time off. And this and that, all the bullshit. I hate when a person tries to cover up their bullshit and blame it on a victim's mental state. That's it itself. And I know what I experienced and know how I felt. I would get off the phone with her and I emailed Dr. Ahab asking him if he could call me. I needed I needed some professional advice, and he was the only person that came to mind. I know my friend will be there for me like any other time that I'm stressed and needed someone to talk to. When he replied back that he would call me, I was happy. I get to dump all of this unhealthy weight off my shoulders and onto his. Chapter 69. Dr. Ahab will call me, and I was glad to hear his voice. Here it was, I was just over Jezebel, and I couldn't take it any longer. I asked if he thinks I'm an observant person. He would answer yes. I started to tell him about what I was experiencing at Jezebel's house. I never told him her name, though. He just knows her as a lawyer. I told him about the time the key and credit card were outside and how I was thinking it was the couple that was staying there doing it, only for them to leave and the same weird shit was happening. I told him about her having me write out a check for her uncle's mentally challenged children and how she left and came back asking where her uncle's checkbook was while the phone was being recorded. I told Dr. Ahab how her uncle was sick and she was thinking the worst and asked me if her uncle ever died if I would still stay there with her. I told him about the time she went behind my back and asked my son's father if he would work for her if I ever start working for her. Let me see. I told him the story about her telling me why Cortina is no longer in her uncle's will, and she would later told me how Cortina said to her, "Well, why don't you fuck him then?" I explained to Dr. Ahab how she seemed already to know me. Then I got a parenthesis because she knew about the Monopoly money story in the parenthesis. Because she asked, why does that story sound familiar? I told him how she constantly was wanting to know about all these characters in the book. And my ex-boyfriend, I was just trying to protect everyone's identity in the book. I had to keep telling her that if these people wanted to know who they were, they would come forward. She wouldn't respect my boundaries. It's like she was fascinated with my life. I even told Dr. Ahab how she was asking about him. I didn't tell him how she wanted to see a picture of him, and I showed her after she kept asking. I would tell him how 1 minute something would be there, and the next it wouldn't, and how I was feel like I was going crazy being over there. After I poured out all that was bothering me, he told me not to go back to her house. It felt good that he didn't think I was going crazy. I knew that Dr. Ahab would make me feel better. I explained to him that with the second book, how I needed a lawyer to help me with my brother's case and how I thought she was God sent, but that devil sends people too to seem like they're sent from God. I told him how she would always say she couldn't sleep and how I would think there is no rest for the wicked after I was really seeing the true her. After talking to Dr. Ahab, I felt a little better and went back to sleep since I've been up since 3 in the morning. Days would go by and Jezebel would message me and I would respond back short and sweet. My birthday was coming up and she wanted to bring me a present. The day after my birthday, she would say that she forgot and it was yesterday and sent a video of her uncle wishing me a happy birthday. Her uncle I still miss to this day. I think about him and so miss taking care of him. So there, that is what I had explained to Dr. Ahab. Was explaining to him my feelings and what I was experiencing after I was waking up. So I just couldn't understand though with the snake situation of why was it I was jumping out of his window. But as you see, when I was in the gentleman's office, how I was cleaning up in his office at the Alliance Coal Mines, how although I was in his office, it turned into to the hospital on his side, that side. But so, like I said, it's still like I still am learning the interpreting, but I guess because I was going to be so blinded, you know what I'm saying, that he was hiding his ways, you know what I'm saying? So I'm guessing that's why he had to have me jumping out the window. But if you go back to the what she meant for evil, God turned around for good, how that was in the back of my mind, how I found the ladder about 4 years later that just magically like appeared. How then the planes kept landing. It's like God didn't want me to be around this man. And I guess a part of me didn't want to believe it. You know what I'm saying? Like hell no. But if whenever God gives you a sign, you have to take heed to that. You have to. And that's a lesson learned for me, you know. And so I had the very first story time I had talked about uh, the dream of how I dreamed up the devil before I even started having premonition dreams. Then after I started having the premonition dreams, I dreamed of demons, and then I had the dream of God. And I wanted to take that to my grave. I was I write in my journal, you know, be a blessing to others. My daughter had gotten this for me, and I have Bible scriptures as well, but this is my diary, like, so whenever I die, you know what I'm saying, I want them to be able to make a book out of my life. And so that's where I wanted them to tell about the experience of God, because I don't want nobody to ever try to, have a debate about my experience. But I felt like this is the time that I needed to say it, and I didn't really want to tell the world. I want to deal with it after I'm dead. God, you can argue about what you think God looked like or whatnot, Uh, but I felt the need to say it, and the reason I felt like it was like controversial, kind of because how God came to me. But then when I look on TikTok or even if you Google it, some believe that God is, woman. And of course, I'm saying spirit when I'm saying woman, not human. He's not man. That's why he say he's not like man. He don't judge by the appearance. He judges by the heart. And for his words don't never go to void because he's not human. So of course, when I'm saying man, female, female, male, of him, it's really spirit. But I gotta say female and male. But if you look it up, there's some that do believe that God is a female, and it shocked me. It shocked me that there's so many people, and then they go to Bible scriptures of saying where they believe that you know he's female, and then some, of course, male, cause and uh, and then some saying both, because he's not human. And so, if you didn't check that video out, I was talking about how I was asleep and it was just blue all the way around. It wasn't like I was in heaven or hell. It wasn't nothing around. And so, it was a huge face, a spirit, just a huge. The face was just huge, and I had to slightly look up at it, and it had like little features, a little bit like womanish kind of features, though, for me to know it was a woman before the voice came. And so, as I'm looking up, I'm just standing there looking up, and there's nothing around. It's just blue all the way around, but she's transparent. You can see kind of slight way through, but just huge face. And she says, in her voice, beautiful voice too. I don't want to take away from her because I didn't, beautiful voice. And she says, "I'm God." And I'm looking at her, and I was like, "Well, I thought God was a man." And she says, "Well, I'll be whatever you want me to be." And I said, "Well, I want to talk to the man God." And she's over here. And I could tell you this story 20, 40 years from now. Same thing. She's over here, and the noise went shh. Now he's over here. She's gone. And he just instantly started talking. And he says, "I know what you went through and what you're going through. And you could have easily let all those things that happened to you keep you down, but you didn't. I appreciate you doing what I asked you to do, and you will be rewarded." And as he's saying, "And you will be rewarded," I'm raising up out of my bed. I raised straight up in the bed, and I said, "What the?" I tried to cuss, but I couldn't cuss. I could not cuss. And then I just started laughing because I was like, how am I to tell God which God I want to talk to? And then these questions started because I know God ain't gonna confuse him, but I'm like, is it two of them? Are they married? Or did he do that so I could tell people that whatever you want him to be? Like I said, I'm still lost to this day. And so, I live off of that dream. I do live off that dream because I know for a fact. You know what I'm saying? I know for a fact. And it's like, so I want to go to Hebrews 11:1. Hebrews 11:1. Faith is the confidence that what we hope for will actually happen. It gives us assurance about things we could not see. So that's faith. That's faith according to the Bible. Job 3:5. I know I had told you about the power of the tongue. And then not only that, in the thinking, how I try not to think of things this bad. I want to say, is it Job 3:5? Oh, 3:25. It says, "What I always feared has happened to me. What I dreaded has come true." So everything that he thought that was going to happen, it came to pass. Job 5:12-13. This is one of my favorites. This is one of my favorites right here. "He frustrates the plans of the crafty so that the work of their hands will not succeed. He traps the wise in their own cleverness, so their cunning schemes are thwarted." Do like that. Proverbs 26:27. While their hatred while their hatred may be concealed by trickery, the wrongdoing will be exposed in public. If you set a trap for others, you will get caught in it yourself. If you roll a boulder down on others, it will crush you instead. one of my favorites too. Oh, hold on. For you successful people, you wealthy people, that's evil and wicked, here's one for you. You always gotta be careful. Proverbs 13:22. Let's see. Where are you at? Hold on. No, that one ain't it. That one ain't it. Proverbs 26. The transference of wealth. Right? Oh, I'm not even in Proverbs. That's why I'm not in Proverbs. Hold on, Proverbs. Okay, here we go. 13:22. This is for you. Good people leave an inheritance to their grandchildren, but the sinner's wealth passes to the godly. That transference of wealth, that's what that's basically saying. Your wealth will go to the down there to the poor, to the godly. You be careful. Isaiah 41:10, that's one of my favorites as well. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. Do not be discouraged, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will hold you up with my victorious hand. You know, Romans 8:31. If God is for you, who could be against you? It's one of my favorites as well. And I always try to keep these in near my heart, you know, close in there because, like I say, the devil come try to make you be discouraged. 8:31, what shall we say about such wonderful things as these? If God is for us, who can ever be against us? Romans 8:28. And we all know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose for them. So those is a few scriptures that I do love, especially that Job 5:12. You know, so no matter how clever anyone, it says it right there. He frustrates the plans of the crafty so that their evil schemes would never succeed. And I think this story too is to let you know that don't play with people with spiritual gifts, because God will tell us. He will, most definitely. And it's crazy because Bishop T.D. Jakes said, when you met your Goliath, that's when you know that you have arrived.